Isaiah 8:20 state, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. It didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Denzel Washington channeled Nephilim.
Basically what I did was
ancient spirits.
Got on my knees and sort of communicated with the spirits. And when I came out, I was in charge.
Powerful scene.
Powerful scene. It was written that down and made a decision to play that.
What, are you going to smoke that?
Nope. You are.
Damn.
Yeah, Jesus free. Yeah, Jesus free.
Johnny Depp sold his soul to the devil. I know I have demons. I'm 30 different people sometimes, from U.S. Magazine.
The word actor is where we get the word hypocritics, better known as the word we know today as hypocrite.
All religions are coming around to Satanism.
A lot of actors who don't mention their names, of course, are very much into this.
Magic only exists if you allow it, if you open yourself up to the possibility of,
invoking energy.
Movie stars are like gods and goddesses.
When Jesus was fasting in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, Satan came to him and projected images of the kingdom, both in time and out of time, in order to deceive him, to cause him to bow down and worship him. But let's take a closer look at Ezekiel chapter 8. Well, let's talk about Ezekiel chapter 8. What's going on in Ezekiel chapter 8? Ezekiel was sitting among the elders of Judah when he saw a fire coming downward, and out of the midst of that fire he saw the hand of the Lord stretch out and reach down and grab him by one of his locks. And God began to show him the images of Israel on the wall and told him to look deeper and dig deeper into the wall. And he saw the image of jealousy. And he began to see the sins of Israel up on the wall. And then if you read down to verse 12, it talks about he saw the imagery, a picture in motion on the wall. And he began to see that the elders of Israel was worshiping the sun god. They was worshiping Tammuz. Basically, all of this stuff which ties right back in to a lot of the images of the symbolizations of the Illuminati. All of this symbolism, it ties right back into what these people was doing back then, and God used an imagery to speak to his prophets. That is showing what the elite of the world is trying to do when communicating with one another. Okay, the book of Jasher. We know that the book of Jasher is dealing. It talks about the human modification and how they was tampering with the DNA of the human and the animals, mixing one species with another. And all of this was done in the days of Noah. And we know that we're living in the last days. And the same thing is happening today. There's giants in the earth even unto this day, mostly being hidden underground and kept in chambers. And we know that these giants were some 20 to 30 feet tall. But we want to kind of talk about the transhumanism, posthumanism, which is dealing with the cloning, man becoming a machine, mixing celestial and terrestrial and robotic parts together to create a super being. And this is what's going on, and they pretty much have an understanding of what they're trying to bring forth, which is the Antichrist. Not only do humans imagine implications of cloning and genetic modifications, as they have for centuries, but with today's scientific knowledge, they can conceivably see these ideas become a reality. And even now, scientists are able to make slight modifications within the womb to make a perfect match by mixing DNA and having, we know that they successfully cloned a sheep, and they're not going to stop at this until they evidently reach their goal in bringing Satan forth. A cell which contains DNA can be taken from one person who is being cloned and fed into another, and the egg fed into another cloned subject by using electricity, and then take that fuse and put it into a surrogate mother to bring about a clone embryo, and therefore that child will live and be healthy, and they can reduplicate that. And you see that happening in the movie The Island. Hollywood was at it again, to trying to reveal things that they did. And we know that there's proof even throughout the time. Look at this video where Dr. Dre, on one hand he had the tattoo of the spider web, and on the other hand he has the tattoo of the spider. And all of a sudden you see on the hand in the new video, the guy that looks all this new Dr. Dre, he's all muscular, and he's totally different from the Dr. Dre that we know. So if you look at his hand now, on the left hand, the actual web to the spider web that was on his hand, it is not there anymore. So the question we must ask ourselves, is this a clone, or what is going on? Did he have this tattoo removed? You know, what is going on? Did he where did the tattoo go? That's the question that we have to ask. Okay, now let's look into Hitler, because we want to look at the mission that Hitler was on. What did Hitler, and what was his purpose, and how did he come about being the way he were? Hitler was on the quest to create a super being, and by any means necessary. So he channeled up these Nephilim spirits, and he traded DNA for technology, and he went to a measure to where he even killed so many so-called Jews, those ones, those people that was Jewish. He killed them and took their DNA in trade in exchange for technology. And these Nephilim spirits used that DNA to bring about what we know now as aliens or reptilians. And you see throughout Hollywood, they depict these superheroes, Superman, Spider-Man, and now we have a modern Iron Man. And here's a gentleman that was on the Donahue show, where he had a scientific experiment done on him, and it messed his skin up. And you got the same thing going on in Hollywood with the movie that they came up with, I Am Legend. And this is an alter ending where this infected one was in the face of Will, and he wanted his girlfriend back. And according to the book that this movie is based upon, you find out that Neville, this guy Robert Neville, who's Will Smith is playing Robert Neville, the guy that was kind of like the leader out of all of the affected ones. He was Will's best friend, who just pretty much really wanted his girlfriend back. And the reason, according to the book, that Will became the I Am Legend, he was bit by a vampire's bat, which caused him not to be infected, or he couldn't be infected by being bit by a human, because he had been bit by a bat from the beginning. And all of the other vampires, infected ones, kind of looked at him as being different. And he can actually be, he was one of the vampires that could walk in the daytime. So he was like a legend, so to speak. So that's the whole thing behind the I Am Legend. And you have the same thing going on in the movie The Priesthood. And you see how these beings are affected. They look like they're vampires. You have the priest fighting against the demonic vampire. But the whole thing about it is they trying to show you that there's diseases out there that can cause men to come to the point to where they could almost be walking dead. You can mix robotic parts and put them on a human, and they actually work. And so they come with all these movies. I, Robot, and in the movie, when he jumped out to grab the device, and he put his hand through the machine to catch himself, and he found out that, hey, he was part robot. And a lot of people say, well, it's good because now people have the ability to walk. But what about when they begin to put chips in you? What about when they begin to put chips, put chips on your brain cells to be able to download information into your brain to have you to think the way they would want you to think? So it's wickedness when it comes to this, and to grow embryos and babies inside of incubators instead of a human mother. So the plan that this transhumanism is going is very demonic, and we know they did all these things by way of contacting dead spirits. And we find the same thing when King Saul went to Andover, and he wanted to consult in the media. And once he got to the media, he asked the woman to conjure up the name that he would say to her from the dead, because he wanted to talk to Samuel. And Samuel was dead. So what happened was, when the lady conjured up was supposed to be Samuel, she saw him covered in a mantle. But she never did say that it was actually Samuel. And Saul proceeded that the old man that was covered with a mantle was Samuel. And then he began to bow down and worship this spirit from the dead, which was a Nephilim. And she prophesied and told him that, this so-called Samuel spirit prophesied and told him that you and your son's going to be with me tomorrow. And then the next day you found out that Saul committed suicide in 3 days. Not the next day, but in 3 days, Saul committed suicide, and he killed himself. So this is what's going on. There's a lot of people want to contact the dead because they want to know what's going to happen in the future. But I'm here to tell you, if we stick with God, no matter what happens, we'll be okay. Just to deal with the whole Genesis chapter 6 and the Nephilim, how the women were pregnant by these fallen giants, and they bore giants. These babies became Nephilim, half human, half angelical being, humanoid type of being. And that's why God had no problem with telling his people after the flood. God had no problem with telling his people, look, go in and utterly destroy them, kill them all. See, they take pride in changing the DNA and messing with the genes and messing with different organs, try to take an organ from an animal and give it to a human. And we know that the leader out of these watchers was Samyazad. And we look at a lot of things about that comes on TV, and we see they talk about UFOs, but we know that these are not beings from another planet. They're not our ascended masters or enlightened ones. They're not our creators. They're not our forefathers. But we know that these are those watchers. These are those giants. They became spirits in the earth, the evil spirits in the earth. So we're taking a lot of this information from the book of Jasper, the book of Enoch, 1st and 2nd Esdras, and some of the other lost books of the Bible. And the sons of men in those days took the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the flowers of the air, and they taught the mixture of one species with another. That's from the book of Jasper. And it talks about, and in order therewith to provoke the Lord, and God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupt his ways upon it, all man and all animal. That's the book of Jasher, chapter 4, verse 18. And we find out that Noah wasn't so much perfect as in the way his lifestyle was, but he was perfect because he kept away from these beings. He didn't mix his blood with these beings. And that was the thing that caused him to be perfect. And there's been confusion among the two different rebellions, the 200 watchers. A lot of people don't realize that they are different from the 100, from Satan and the 1/3 that failed. They had their own rebellions, which by leaving their first estate, which is heaven, and going into the earth and cohabiting with human women. So that sin was a different sin from what happened with the 144, with the 1/3 that fell with Satan. Then the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven, which having falling to the earth, having the key to the bottomless pit. So we see that angels are still falling to this day. It said, moreover, Azariah taught men to make sword, knives, shields, bracelets, and the fabrications of mirror. He taught them war, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, and the use of paint, the beautifying of the body, of the face. So what was going on? These demons, these fallen angels, brought in all of this jewelry, this makeup, the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stone, of every variable and selected kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became, the Bible said, altered. So we see that they taught sorcery, they taught the solution of sorcery, they taught all these things to mankind, but we as a people still want to do these things anyway. And they wanted their wives to stand out, so that's why they would deck them with silver and gold. They wanted them, they became witches, their wives became witches. And God saw all this bloodshed on the earth, and how men cries had reached heaven. So God sent Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, and Raphael down to see what was going on, because the cries of men had reached heaven. And God had to put an end to it, and this was part of the reason why God brought the flood, because of the evil and the wickedness that was going on in the world, and the devouring of man. They began to devour man because man could no longer sustain them. The earth would not yield its fruit fast enough to feed these giants. And Enoch says that these giants were picking up the human being whole, and they were eating them. So you can't tell me that a 9 or even a 10 or 11, 12 feet man can pick up another man and eat him whole. So these giants, according to the book of Enoch, had to be some 20 to 30 feet tall. And now we see why they was looked at as the gods. And according to the book of Enoch, they turned against one another, and God fixed it to where they devoured each other, which gave Noah plenty of time to build the ark and to go into the ark and to preserve him and his family. And it was not so much that he was perfect in he was one of the more perfect ones in his time, don't get me wrong, but it had more to do with just him being a good and righteous man. It had a lot to do with him being his genetics and his gene pool being pure, being still human, all human, 100% human, like what God had created and had not been tampered with and modified. So this was why they were chosen. And God always told his people to stay away from this one, to stay away from that one, to stay away from these people. Don't mix with these people, because he understood what Satan was trying to do. Satan was trying to contaminate mankind. He didn't want, he couldn't get the creation part of man right. He couldn't create him a man, so he chose to corrupt man. And like I said, we just really have to be on the lookout. And we see, how God sent down these angels because they was devouring man. We know that this caused the flood. There were giants, Nephilim, in the earth in those days. Now check this out. And also after that. I didn't say it. The scripture said, and also after that. So what is the after that? What is the after that? The after that is after the flood. There was giants in those days. Those days were the days of Noah. And also after that. So we know, we kind of see according to scripture what is going on. Now pay attention and listen to the devil talk to his people, the elite of the world.
But this too we know. Year after year within this happy grove, our fellowship bans thee for a space. Thy malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, "This on earth sets us free."
You shall burn me once again! Not with these flames, which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign. Ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire.
Wow. Prince of all mortal wisdom, owl of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel.